Hello, friends. Welcome back. This is part two, the Tell It Like It Is podcast. I have India on today, and we're having a great conversation. Thank you for coming back for part two. Um, India, so the thing is, I've done so much work in the running community that I had so many relationships from running, so that now with this new project, I brought a lot of the voices that I knew from running into this space, right? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're like, "Oh, we're not just gonna talk about running." I'm like, "No, like there's a bigger picture here,
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that the reason why you need to worry about um, you being a woman, there's a reason behind that. The reason why Black people aren't getting the representation that you've seen, there's a reason behind that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one. This is not one of these places where we just talk about, what's wrong, right? This is a place where we try to figure out solutions, and not just solutions like distant future, maybe someone can do this in the future, but the question is, what can Alexi and India do? And not just not assuming that we're not doing, but talk about what we are already doing and how we can build on that.
Yeah, for sure.
um, so what are you doing specifically now that you're passionate about, and what are the things you'd like to continue doing and build upon?
Yeah. So I think right now, so my brand is Miles from India. It is a LLC, so it is actual business. So anything that I do around Miles from India is a part of my business. So I think for me, the biggest thing right now is continuing to build my brand. And what I mean by building my brand is continue to connect with people, continue to educate people, continue to inspire those that are runners or people that are interested in becoming runners, and continue to build community. Like every single thing that I do is about community, connection, inspiration within the running community. So right now it's all about building that brand, being very intentional about the connections that I have so that I can continue to grow and have connections like I have with you. Um, right now what my fire is obviously my YouTube channel, so continuing to put out content there because it is one of the biggest reasons why I decided to start a YouTube channel is because YouTube reaches the world. It's not just whoever follows you in this one platform, on Instagram or on Facebook. It literally can reach people that you never would have connected to in any other way. So that was one of my biggest reasons of connecting on YouTube, along with diversifying the platform or putting more melanin onto the platform in the running space. Excuse me. And the other thing that I'm doing right now is I started last year becoming a race announcer. Race announcing is something that I absolutely love. I thought about it last year because I am that runner that goes to races and I will cheer on a race even if I'm not running, or if I run a race, I will stay back to cheer on people. Like cheering community. I have a very big love for back of the pack runners. I feel like there's cones that get picked up. There's people out there not cheering. You may not have water, you may not have that, but to have someone out there to cheer you on if you're not having a good day or if you're just a back of the pack runner, whatever the situation is, I feel like that's very important. I've had those races like that. And that one person that cheered me on is what I remembered throughout that whole bad race. And so race announcing is kind of my way of giving back, even though I'm on the mic, I'm at the start and finish line, is one of those things where I would be there until the last runner comes in. And I really enjoy that. So it's kind of one of those things where I said, hey, what can I do to continue to give back? Alexi, it's a very different energy when the race announcer knows who you are. So when I do race announcing for Atlanta races and I know people, I'm like, hey, congratulations, Alexi's coming across the finish line. Like being able to hear your name being called out at a race, it just gives you that spirit and it's something that you remember. And so I think that's a uniqueness about me. And just like a lot of other things, there's not a lot of women that are doing race announcing. And furthermore, there's not a lot of Black women that are doing race announcing. So just kind of showing that, I have the personality. Everything that I do is about personality, is about my voice. It's about showing people that you can be professional, energetic, love what you do, and really have fun doing it. So race announcing is a piece. Another area that I'm hoping to continue to do is I would love to get more on panels and speaking engagements and speaking at your health or wellness expos about running and just being a runner in general. It's all about that education piece to me. At one point in life, I thought that I wanted to be a professor, but then I learned the whole research piece is not what I want to do. But I find myself now like really in the educational piece. And if I can get out and talk to young girl groups or girls on the run or things that like different organizations that are helping the youth, or even if it's not youth and it may be a work organization that's having a health and wellness week at their job, and I can come educate and talk to people about different things. I would love to do that. So continue to educate and inspire people. I think when it comes to running, there's just not a lot of education behind it. And if you're not kind of put into it at a young age through cross country or track at your school, it's kind of a null and void it's a null and void thing. Some people may know about marathoning through the Olympics, but it's all about exposure. And the more you know, the more you're interested in it.
Marathon gets so little coverage at the Olympics. They covered the 100 meters and the 200 and the 400 relay. Like,
Marathon, you just have to make sure you're on the right channel.
Yeah, like growing up, I think I heard very little about like the marathon distance in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Marathon was always a word for me that was associated with like taking a long time, being a big journey kind of thing. Like I remember when I said I wanted to run a marathon, I didn't even know what the distance was. I was just like, I want to do that kind of thing that I heard about. A lot of what you said was around education and inspiring and getting people to be more active. You said community building and getting people out. A lot of these things that you're talking about are solutions, right? To combat, to help people come back to wellness. That's what
you start. It doesn't have to be come back to. It could be just start.
Well, the idea is we were born in wellness, so you're coming back to that. I mean, hopefully you were born in wellness, at least.
But not everybody was born in wellness.
Right, exactly. So coming to wellness, that kind of thing. So coming to wellness, so that what I'm hearing is that we have drifted away from wellness, and you want to come back. You want to help encourage people to come back to wellness, educate people to come back, help to have people see themselves represented in wellness. So when they go to the gym, they're not the only woman there or the only Black woman there or the only whatever there. So to empower them to say, you can do this, these kinds of things. Like, this is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and I think more so, I hear what you're saying as far as comeback. I don't look at it as a comeback. I look at it as just being in the space that you're within. There definitely are people that didn't grow up in the wellness space. Their life was never that. And so as an adult, they are in, like, this is the introductory space to them. So for me, it is, because there could be different barriers that people have as to why they may not be involved in health and wellness or physical or mental self-care, whatever that reason is. But yes, being the person that I am and the different things that I do, showing people that you don't have to be what the media portrays as this type of person, this body type, this look, this color, this shape, to be active and ready. You don't have to, when I was growing up, it was like Black girls don't swim, or they don't get their hair wet. If they just got their hair done, they don't get it done. Like, even just being that, like, okay, I am a woman, I sweat, like, I don't mind sweating, and I can still clean up well and look pretty, but I'm also going to get this workout in. So yes, just showing people that, you can be whatever you want to be in whatever space that you're in, and you don't have to there is not a definition to being fit, being well, and being healthy.
You recently got engaged. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you so much. I did.
I love that you try to share a holistic view of yourself. And I think that's refreshing, right? You're not just running, you're a person.
Yeah, it's something that I would say intentionally trying to do. Because running outside of, I think I do have a life outside of running. And even though my fiance he's not huge on social media, he's not huge on sharing the life outside of, like, he's not huge on sharing our life. He's more of a private person than I am. So I try to give a very healthy balance of that, but I also understand there is benefits between people understanding who I am outside of running. And so that's
I
why I
see
do
him and
try to
he
sprinkle and
tries.
share. He does try.
He try. I see, like, I see a little this, and then I see him like he's,
Yeah,
you
he
know,
definitely tries. Our personalities are very different, which is great. It just kind of makes us who we are. He's very laid back, chill, he just kind of does his thing. Whereas me, I'm like bubbly and big and bright, and he's just kind of relaxing and chilling. So he is the man behind a lot of my pictures, a lot of my videos. He's kind of the behind the scenes guy, and he'll sneak in a video every now and then, but it is definitely preparation for him to get there.
I was watching the episode on the engagement story,
Mhm.
and it seemed like he went out of his way to, like, all right, let me make sure this is photo story ready. Like, I was like, you go, brother.
Yeah, he definitely there was no rehearsing into what we're gonna say, but definitely more so like just tell your part of the story and however it comes. Wanted to be organic in that way. He just doesn't love the camera. So whereas for me, I'm all for the camera, I'm okay with it. Whereas for him, he just doesn't love it. So
How important was it for you to have a partner of color?
It was more so important for me to have a partner that loved me for me and what I do. I don't think I don't think it was as intentional as people probably think it is. For me, it's being able to find someone that loves me for me, accepts the space that I'm in, because I am very engaged with a lot of people, a lot of males. Honestly, like I engage a whole lot with a lot of males. So someone that no one's allowed, but it embraces
Right.
my interactions with the world and how I do it, and um are okay with that. I think that I love my brothers. Like it is something that I'm highly attracted to. So it's kind of one of those things where if I can find a brother that can do that, then I sure will. But at the same time, I can't say that is only thing that I would date. If I could have found someone that was not a brother, I probably would have went with it. They would have had to been very woke, and there would have been some standards to uphold. Uh, they would have to be very woke, but I mean, I've always seen myself with a African American male, and that's what I ended up with, and I love it.
Are you planning on kids? What do you think?
Oh yeah, they're coming.
Now, there's a lot. What do you, let me ask you this first. What would you say the dating scene looks like? Like basically the question I'm trying to ask you is, when I hear people talk about dating and trying to find a partner, they make it sound like a war zone.
It's difficult. It's difficult. And I just say difficult because there's you have to be very open-minded. You kind of have to roll with the punches. You're going to, prior to me finding my fiance, and I say finding or connecting with my fiance, uh, went through the whole bad relationships. You go back and forth on the dating apps, and you interact with people that are not here for you. They're here for different reasons. They're not wanting to commit. They're not who they say they are. They're not being honest. They're not doing a whole lot of a lot. Um, and they just may not be your person and connecting with you on every level. Like for me, it was not a it was I am blessed my fiance is not only attractive to me, very attractive, but also we can have the intellectual conversation. We can joke around. We can have the business conversation. Let's talk about finances. Let's talk about stocks. Let's talk about our future. Let's joke around. Let's talk about what's on the shade room and the pop culture politics. Like we can talk about politics. Like we can talk about all of those things. Like our first date was 4 hours long and we talked about all the things that they say not to talk about on your first date, from religion to how do you feel about LGBTQ community? Like we talked about it all. So I think dating is very difficult. And I think that it's all about timing, and just connecting with the person at the right times. There's people that I dated in the past that didn't work out, but I feel like if I was to date them now in the space that I'm in, it probably could work out. But it's all about timing and connecting with the right person. But yeah, dating it's difficult. It's a process. You have to be patient. And you honestly have to learn you and what you like and what you don't like, and also be flexible to compromise.
Do you find yourself giving dating advice?
No. No, people don't ask me. It's so funny. People don't ask me about dating advice, and maybe because I don't. I mean, I post Braxton a little bit, but I don't post him a lot. Like it's, I think. I mean, I still have people that try to hit on me very often on social media, but and I don't know if I don't post him enough for them to know that I'm engaged. But I get that quite often. Like I still get hit on very often. I don't get asked for dating advice. I think when people learn our story and how that my fiance and I met, I think people try
Wait,
to
how did
say,
you met?
do they have any friends or do they have a fraternity brother or something? I think that, people more so ask that, but not advice. We met, I connected with one of my friends that was a runner, that also just so happened, long story short, just so happened to be his fraternity brother. And we met at a mutual gathering and he connected us. So yeah,
So you told your friend you were looking.
basically.
Okay, yeah, friend of a friend.
Yep.
Yeah. The more communities you're a part of, then you have to put yourself out there.
That's true. You do. And I was in that space of, I had been single for a couple years and gone through therapy and stuff and, really working on myself from my previous relationship. And it was time for me to start putting myself out there. I'm not your club girl and hanging out and doing all that stuff. So either I'm at work or I was running or at a race. That was kind of my life. And if I didn't find someone in that space, then I wasn't going to be with anyone. And at that point in time, I didn't want to date another runner. Like it was just something that I want my hobby to be my hobby. And so I just kind of put myself out there to him, and here we are, 4 years later, and we're about to be married.
Right. Well, you said the important thing, doing the self-work and the mental health and doing that self-work to get you
Yeah.
there to be self-aware of what you were doing that you could bring to
Mhm.
it and these kinds of things.
Right. Which is the most important part. I think a lot of times people don't know themselves what they really want. I think that they know the superficial part of things. They have this checklist that they want their partner to be checking every box. And honestly, it's really not about that. There's some things that you definitely are have to compromise on. I think that you definitely should have, I don't really have a checklist. I did at the time, but I think that you should have a negotiable and non-negotiable list is more important. Having a list of traits that you know that you just really can't deal with, whether that be them being a jealous person or them being a smoker, like whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's some things that are negotiable and non-negotiable that you should know. But I think when you get in a relationship with someone, there's things that you may have to compromise on. And that doesn't mean to settle. Settle and compromising is two different things, but you have to really know yourself for that. And that takes time, that takes work, and that takes internal work and accepting who you are and what you need to do. Do you need to be more patient? Do you need to kick it up a notch? What is it that you need to do?
Yeah, I mean, so to tie all of this together, right? I think that a lot of what we focus on is trying to find our person, and that takes a lot of energy. And you know, that's something that I think a lot of people run into situations that are harmful. So sometimes I think about like some of the things that could be helpful for that. And I think a lot of people are struggling to find their person. And I think you said something important, doing that self work. And, you know, we all need to hear that, right? You kind of
Mhm.
want you will kind of want to get married like yesterday. And it's one of these things that kind of, I think, messes up the relationship also.
Yeah, I think that you also have to be true with yourself. Like I'm a self-aware person, meaning like if there's an argument that happens, or not really argument, but there's a disagreement that takes place, owning your piece, like owning your part. It's not really a right or wrong answer. It's just, okay, I know I could have done better on this, or I could have communicated better on this. But it takes a different type of person to be able to accept their flaws and accept the things that they need to work on. And also takes a different type of person to forgive and to allow that person that room to grow. So, but I think that all wraps up into internal work. And everyone's journey is different. Like how my fiance and I met, like that may not have been able to happen for someone else. And I just think it was destined to happen.
Of course.
And yeah, it was definitely destined to happen. And how he and I dated, we were very intentional about our dating process. We kind of laid it out on the line of what we were looking for and what we were intentionally doing in our interactions with people. And it just worked for us. But that doesn't mean that our trajectory is the same as everyone else's.
So I kind of want to keep going with that, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I connect all the dots, right? Um, I really want to help my people move forward, and I really want to be an ally to us making more bridges, right? I think
Mhm.
strategically, business is a way forward. I think community is community to me means I support you, you support me. And I'm gonna ask, instead of me going to a stranger's daycare, I'm gonna ask everyone in my community who can watch my kid, who has a daycare. So those kinds of things to me, I think, are how you build up your community, because you may have two other people who's looking for a daycare and two people who's looking for a job, and you can kind of build something up this way. I think we've gotten to a point where, you know, that's not happening easily, or those kinds of ideas are not like flowing. And I think that in this day and age with connectivity, we can do more of that. And I think I want to be a part of more conversations like that, normalizing conversations like that, and hearing stories about that.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
spoke about community, and I know you're a big community builder. I know a lot of the work that you do celebrates community, and you're doing that. Um, and I really want to ally with people who's already doing the work, and kind of share that vision and say, hey, you're doing this little piece here, so and so is doing that little piece here. Like if you have 40 creators who get together and start moving together, like we can do something big.
Mhm.
So that's my thought process.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think support comes in different ways. I think, whenever I connect or do something for someone, I don't expect for it to be reciprocated. And I think that's just my personality. But I definitely think that we're better together, meaning that there's the more we come together, it could do a lot. And I also feel like there's space for everyone. And how you move may not be how I move. It doesn't mean that we have to do the same thing or collab in the same way, but I just think that there's space for everyone. There's enough for all of us as creators to have our own lane. There's a lane for everyone. Have our own lane, because I may be someone's tea and not their coffee. But yes, I definitely agree that community is important. It's how I've continued to build my community and connections. People ask me how I do certain things, and I'm like, I just so happen to know this guy over here that knows my worth, knows my work, sees what I do, and respects what I do, and asked me to be a part of this. And honestly, just being me, Alexi. Like I think that there's so many people that try to emulate and try to do what you do, and it's like, do you, like how you do you is how you do you. There's someone that's gonna love what you do. There's someone that's gonna not like what I do, and that's okay. I don't have to please everyone, but there's space for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have you been to New York? Have you done anything up here?
I have actually. I've been to New York 4 times. I ran the Brooklyn half in 2016. That's actually my half PR. So I've done that. I've cheered on the New York Marathon twice, and I've actually just been up there for a vacation another time. So yeah, so I've been in New York. I'm actually pretty connected with some of the guys in New York City BMR. So yeah.
How are you marathon wise? How many marathons have you done?
I've done 2 in Chicago, both of those in Chicago.
What
Half marathons, I've done 16.
what brought you to Chicago?
I just felt I heard that it was a good entry level race. And when I mean entry level, first marathon race, pretty flat, good community, good crowd support, nice course. It's not super hot. It's in a good time of the year, so good entry level race. And of course, it was a world major, so I definitely decided to do that. And I went for my second time because my first race wasn't the best. I had an injury that flared up at mile 8, and so I decided to go back the following year for redemption. So.
Did you get it?
Correct. I need to correct myself. I did get redemption. I had a 19-minute PR, and correct myself on the number of marathons. I have done 3 marathons. One of them were virtual. I did virtual Boston last year. So, but if you only count in-person races, I've done 2.
How do you feel about marathons?
I don't love them. They're not my favorite, but I think it is a really good challenge. It definitely fosters a lot of discipline. So I definitely enjoyed that piece of it, but the training takes a lot out of you. Definitely a lot of commitment for a couple months, but it's definitely well worth it when you can accomplish doing the 26.2.
What's Are you planning to do another one?
I do. I'm hoping to get the world majors under my belt. So if I do any, it would definitely be a world major. I won't be doing another marathon outside of that. So it would need to be the world majors. I don't love the marathon distance. I like half marathon distance, but not the marathon distance.
Got you. What about the Atlanta Marathon, the big one?
Publix?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't love it. It's very hilly course. So I don't love it. I won't be doing that marathon. I've done the half a couple times, but the actual marathon it's not my cup of tea. I love to cheer them on though.
what month is it again?
It's in late February, early March, depending upon what week it falls on.
Okay, all right. Um,
Yeah.
so are you gonna put in for New York this year?
It's in my cards. We'll see. I haven't heard much about it lately. I'm hoping that, I know it's gonna happen, but I haven't heard much about it. But yes, I will see. I have never put in for New York. But if I just so happen to do a world major this year, hopefully it would be New York.
Got it. Okay, so you got to travel the world. I haven't made my way. Like I would love to do the world majors, but I'm still like locally, like international. Like that's a whole nother level of stress.
Yeah, it takes a lot of planning.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
England, London, that's a crazy one.
London, Berlin, uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a different level, but I mean, it can be done. There's definitely marathon tours and series that kind of put it together for you, and you just pay for it and make sure you have your passport and do what you need to do.
that is true. Like that's one of the things that I don't think we talk about a lot as runners
Hmm.
is the marathon tours.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely an option.
yeah. Um, so let me just try to wrap this all up.
Okay.
Um, you, I'm very impressed with the work that you do on your channel,
Thank you.
and you really shine. And I feel like, I can see you continuing to grow and being like a running personality. And now
Thank you.
how many podcasts do you have? Because I can you shout them out? Because I think you have multiple.
No, I just have one podcast. So I'm the host of the Run Duo podcast. And that's with my co-host Tommy Mitchell. So I'm the host of that, but I have been on other podcasts, like being interviewed like you're interviewing me here. It's been at least over 10 podcasts that I've been interviewed on.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, but the host of me actually having a podcast is the Run Duo. My vlog on YouTube is Miles from India, and that is also what's on Facebook. So if you want to see the older videos of me from Facebook, that's on my page, Miles from India on social media. So
are you planning to come to New York for anything other than the marathon? Like how are you feeling about traveling and all of these pandemic things and running and
I don't have New York on my radar right now, besides the marathon, just because I am currently wedding planning. But it's definitely a place that I need to get back to. I'm okay with travel. I just came back from the Bahamas. So I was in the Bahamas this past weekend. So I'm okay with traveling. It is a little stressful because you have to continue to get tests, and I got a test before I came in, while I was there, when I came back, and I just got another test just to make sure I'm good. So I'm okay with travel. It is adds a little bit extra stress, but New York is definitely somewhere that I need to get back to, whether it be outside of the New York City Marathon or another time. But if it is this year, it will definitely be for New York Marathon.
yeah. When's the wedding?
Next year, 2023. Yep, in the spring.
Spring. So well, I guess you don't consider it a podcast, but Miles from India, and you also have the Run Duo.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Run Duo is my podcast that is with Tommy Mitchell. I consider that a separate entity from Miles from India. Miles from India is my baby, it's my brand. And Miles from India is everything else that I do. So my run coaching, my race announcing, my motivational speaking, and my vlog is all under Miles from India.
Awesome. Awesome. And you do also some work with the race, right?
Yes. Yep. So every year I'm connected with them. We do myself and my podcast, the Run Duo with Tommy Mitchell. We do a live podcast every year with them. That's been something that has happened since the first year of the race. So we definitely do that. And so whether it be in that entity or, excuse me, and this past year, I did do some announcing at the expo for the race. So I'm in a couple different hats when it comes with the race, but myself and the race director Tess we're pretty close, and she loves to continue to support us. So that's what we do.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Um, in the future, I'll definitely reach out to you and share some ideas and some things and bounce some ideas off you. And I definitely appreciate all that you do, and you're a huge help in the community. And
Thank you.
so
And I appreciate you reaching out. And it was nice to meet you last October. And keep doing your thing as well. And just know that there's always someone watching.
that sounded scary.
No, meaning that even if you don't feel like you're reaching a lot like you want to, there's always someone that's inspired in whatever you do. And there's always someone that appreciates the work that you do, even if it's not, if you have a number goal or whatever it is in your mind,
Yeah.
there's always going to be somebody that appreciates your work. And I try to tell people that all the time, because I think sometimes when you get into this content creating space, we start to think you want it to move faster, you want more connections, or you want this, you want that. There's always going to be one person that appreciates everything that you put out, or at least something that you put out.
So a lot of these things to me, I want to reach people internationally across wherever, but also people where I live, people who I'm connected to in person, and inspire people to reach out and be connected and do those kinds of things. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time.
Of course.
Miles from India on Instagram.
Yeah, so you can find me, Miles from India on Instagram is my YouTube Instagram page. So I make sure that I repost not repost the video, but just notifying people that a new YouTube video is up. My actual page on Instagram that I'm very active on is Eye of Indigo Runs, and it's ENDIGO for Indigo. So that's Eye of Indigo Runs on social media. And on Facebook, it's Miles from India or India Cook, which is my full name.
Thank you so much, India. I look forward to seeing what you do next.
Yes, thank you so much, Alexia. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.